Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
What's going
Happy Friday.
on? What is going? That day it is. That day it is. Happy Friday to you as well, brother. Welcome
Yeah.
everyone to Community Beacon. We of course appreciate love, respect, peace, joy. It's the new year. And we are moving on with this good old momentum of the new year. I see the title is New Year, New Me. The brother said that's just what showed up. That's what popped into his mind. And so we're gonna go ahead and go along with it. Guys, still Friday, 6:30, Community Beacon. We appreciate you all for checking in. The date today, I'm gonna date it. We're not supposed to, but I'm gonna date it. It's not good practice, rather. However, we do come out with episodes so consistently, I'm not afraid to. It is January 5th, 2024. Wow, it's a new year. It's another year. You know what I think is you have those periods in your life that just kind of mark things, right? And so for me, and I think for a lot of the world, that was, the 2020 year of 2020 and the pandemic was something that most of us have never seen before in our lifetime, where things just shut down and it changed. And I would challenge anyone to say that 2020 wasn't a defining point or some type of shift happening within their life starting in 2020. Of course, that was the year of the pandemic. That was the year of the shutdown. For me personally, my mother passed away, which kind of, I guess, really made it that much more impactful. And so here we are. It is 4 years. Well, let me count it. 20 to 21. That's one. 21 to 22. 22 to 23. 23 to 24. That is 4 years have gone by since 2020. It almost feels like yesterday. So I think when we talk about this new year, new me, I think we'll get into a little bit of that. I just feel like I'm being pushed towards that way. And of course, I love to hear what the brothers' thoughts are on that as well. And I'm so terrible at introductions, you all. Of course, I'm Michaeldseville. I'm your real estate guy here in Palm Beach County. Definitely appreciate you all. I'm gonna tell you something real quick before I introduce that handsome brother on the other side. Is that someone did? I saw them, a family member. They did a pose, and they were like, "I'm gonna do your pose from the Community Beacon show." Here, I didn't even know this. I didn't even know it was what we did. Remember, I don't know if you remember. We looked at our watches. If you go back, I always see it.
Yes.
As the intro plays, we looked at our watches, and so we were taking pictures. And he said, "I'm going to do the pose that you all did on the Community Beacon." I didn't even know he watched the show. So somebody's watching it. So I think I appreciate that. I thought that was cool for that to kind of come out like I didn't know you watched it.
Yeah, there's still some sleepers
brother,
out there, man. There's some sleepers out there. They
I
like to
appreciate
hover
it.
over the channel. I think YouTube's trying to fix that up so you can't hover over the channel. Because sometimes I hover over the channel and they'll give me a preview and then it'll say continue watching. I say, y'all added that continue watching now. Now I got to click on it. And a lot of times I just say, well, I'm not clicking on it now because I don't even want to see it anymore. But now people, they're gonna have to check in.
I listen. I appreciate it. Whether or not it gets counted in the metrics, I know that somebody's watching, which isn't. I think that's an interesting point as well. Is that you never know who is watching, and and then the people who are watching, it's impacting them. So of course, let me get to the brother on the other side of the screen. My brother from another mother. listen, it was interesting. Me and this brother have had some conversations in the last couple of weeks, and man, I'm just like, this brother's just connected. That's my new that might be my new, it's a huge value and for me and quality is just to be connected with his higher power and his source, and just, so that works with your alignment. And so of course that is the incomparable Joel Simmons of the Tenacity Foundation. So everyone, I just want you to, we're gonna put our hands together for that brother on that side, that is consistently joining me. And hey man, brother, it's 2024, 4 years. I have seen immense growth and expansion within you as you continue with your journey, which is interesting because you've already had a lot of growth and expansion just in life and in what it is that you're doing. And just to continue seeing you do that, as far as I'm concerned, is just successful. It's success. It's great to see. So of course that's my brother. Brother, if you don't mind introducing yourself. And I don't know why I'm saying it as if you're a guest on the show. It is a show. It is a
new year. It's that new year, man. It's that new year, and all of a sudden, it's it's a new us. It's a new we. It's a new me. I think that's important. I'm grateful to be able to meet this new year.
Right.
Being on the side of the living. I think that's it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. But we have children. We have family.
Mm-hmm.
And they're important. They're important. I love watching my kids grow.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. I go back 25 years and I think about that, and it's like, man, who would I be without my children?
Interesting.
Yeah. Who would I be? You said something just a little bit ago. You were talking about the COVID. And I said, great day in the morning. We had a blip.
A blip.
All the Marvel fans out there, you understand what I'm talking about. For
Yeah,
Marvel,
yeah.
man. We had a blip. I mean, it was like Thanos wiped out half of the population. And then all of a sudden, we're coming back. Only difference is those people that are gone are still gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have to recover from all of that. And it's different. It's still different. That was a milestone era. That was one of those times in life that, that's like the Vietnam War. Those that were there, whether they went into the war or whether they were at home, will never forget that era, because life changed.
Super changed. Yeah.
Super changed. Yeah.
So here's the question, brother, is, and we briefly discussed this a couple of days ago, is what side are we coming out on? Right? Because for a lot of families in the Vietnam War, and I'm feeling it definitely in the pandemic, people are coming out on different sides of it. Right? There's people who are, growing and expanding with what it is, because we've gotten a lot of more information. There's a lot more knowledge available, etc. And it just seems like it's now it's within fingertips. I mean, I don't know if you've messed with AI at all, but it's like, it's interesting. I mean, I have Chat GPT. I have the paid version, which is totally different from the free version. I want people to know that the Chat GPT paid version is so much more expansive than the regular version for whatever reason. And the regular version is very expansive. So we have all this information, we have all this knowledge. What are we doing with it? What are we doing with this? I mean, it's always been there, but it's so easily accessible.
I think that's an interesting question. And I think arguably there's another question that may be, in my mind, top notch. It's like, that pandemic shifted the mindset of people across the world, and they had to revisit who they are, what they are. You know, and we talk about this whole identity crisis, you know, and we talk about freedom. And it's like that that lockdown made everybody feel like they were in prison. Everybody, you know, everybody was stuck. Nobody had rights. Everybody's rights were taken.
That was interesting, wasn't it?
Very interesting, because I think that what came out after that was everything. Everything came out. Everybody came out in every way, shape, and form. No, we don't want to work anymore. No, I just create my own business. No, I don't want to be a man anymore. I want to be a woman. No, I don't want to be a woman. I'm going to be a man. Yeah. No, I don't really even need money. I'm good without it. You know, no, I need to have all of it. It's never going to happen to me again. The span of mindset shifted in such a way that you got a chance to see everybody that was in the closet. It's like it left no rock unturned. Everybody came out, and they were like, I dare you to tell me anything.
It shook everybody to the core. It shook us to the core, and it really made us question who we are. And I think that therein came, and I think a lot of this identity crisis or our identity was already, you know, subconsciously we were going through these different things, and you seen people, but it just pushed it out there. Now people are like, well, who am I? What is this about? People really started to question it. And if you didn't have I would even dare to say, even if you had a strong foundation, it still had you asking these different questions. Now, if you had a less of a foundation, you were liable to go in very, very different directions. Toastmasters is going to kill me for all the ums. And so that goes back to kind of what I was saying, because I think that is the question. Are people who are going further away from a side, and people that are that are probably getting even stronger within their side, because you can essentially let everything go and just be on the total opposite side. And then it's like, if you don't know who you are and you don't really have a direction, and I think some of us do have directions, but it's not our true direction. It was kind of given to us. You can end up in a very scary place. We had 2 days ago, 2 days ago, a brother by the name of Katt Williams. I have to talk about it because I thought it was one of the most interesting interviews and entertaining interviews ever. I want to preface this by saying, everyone, that Katt Williams is a comedian. So by trade, he's an entertainer. So a lot of the things that came off in this 3-hour interview was for the sake of it was a lot of entertainment. There's a saying that I agree with, because I definitely believe when you deal with comedians tend to they allow us to question ourselves. They're very in one of the most subtle ways, because we're laughing about it. But the saying goes, there's truth in jest. So along with a lot of the entertaining jestful things that he was saying, there was a lot of interesting truths that, and in his belief system and his truth that he came out to say. A lot of it had to do with, and I'm going to speak on, is really about integrity. It's about integrity. That, I think, if most people go back and watch it and leave their biases out of what it was he was saying, you'll hear a lot about him talking about his integrity. His, and secondly was like his love for the craft. He proved his point as to why he feels as he should be he's at the top of the list of comedians of all time. And he proved his point because he was able to keep a lot of people intrigued for a 3-hour interview. 3 hours this brother went on for. Shannon Sharp did an awesome job too. I want to give him his just due as well. I can tell he's also been working on his ability to interview people and still stay not be biased as an interviewer. That's what you want. I would like to see anyways, because that's an art form all within itself. Because all right, so long story short, Katt is going on, and a lot of the things overall, one of the overarching things he spoke about was integrity and staying true to your beliefs, your faith, throughout whatever comes your way. Now, I don't know if a lot of us have not seen some of the money that's involved in show business, millions, billions of dollars that are being done in show business, and to stay a certain kind of way. That's where we start to see, especially entertainment, a lot of artists, they hit 30, 40, 50 and they get involved in some interesting things like that. That's why I often wonder, I think some people wonder, like, why is this guy doing drugs? Why is this guy, depressed or stressed? We've seen suicides out of some of the entertainers we thought were some of the funniest. Robin Williams being one of them. Nobody thought that would happen. That this guy who gave us laughs, etc., was capable of committing suicide. It was shocking to everybody. You see other entertainers like Michael Jackson, Prince, who passed from overdoses. Whether or not you think it's a conspiracy theory, the fact of the matter is these people were still taking these drugs for whatever reason. So it's like, to be able to hold your integrity on this type of platform, and of course this is like, this is the extreme. We're still doing this on a day-to-day basis. Right. I think to be integrity, even coming on Facebook and talking about certain things, that because of the normalcy of it, women turning into men, and men stating that they're women, and even just us having this conversation about it, and at the same time not being able to, people not necessarily not picking sides, but just even addressing it is a faux pas. It's enough to get someone, quote unquote, canceled, is and their livelihood taken away. To have integrity about it all in regards to the belief system is interesting, because now we're doing like what's normal and versus what's natural. Like where do we draw the line, and at what point do we not, or do we start speaking up about these different things? Is an interesting place to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. And part of that is like, what is normal? Because normality changed. What was normal changed, post 2020, normality changed. And we talked about it for a long while about what the new normal would be like. And I think that that's a challenge all in itself. Just what is the new normal, and whether or not you accept it as an individual, whether or not I accept it as an individual, whatever the new normal is. And that's part of the new normal. You don't have to accept it. That's the crazy part about it. Like, there's so much freedom in the atmosphere, especially in, Western culture. There's still a lot of people that are held down and, misrepresented and underneath the watchful eye of the government or of the gun, to a much more extreme extent, especially third world countries. But in a first world country like ours, it's like, what is your normal? And, you speak your normal, and there's a group for you, and they're not hiding anymore. So there's somewhere where you can go and you can be accepted and you're normal. And like you said, you use the term faux pas, and you'll be accepted, and you can be accepted in the open. You don't have to go to some shady shack or, some restaurant that's in a certain community that accepts certain people. Now it's just like, show up wherever you want, and people are forced to accept you. And that's just the way it is, and that has to deal with rulings, and this just goes to show you. Now, I'm going to say it this way, and it doesn't mean that these individuals are to blame for these things, but just, underneath the term of Obama, speaking towards, this, the liberalism of the LGBT, that door was opened up wide in his second term. He opened that door wide, and I speak with some people, and some people are like, yeah, I can't believe that Democrats. I'm like, okay, well, right after that came a Republican in office, and they didn't shut the door. So now what? Then it's the Democrats are back in. And it's like we're in an environment where the culture is fight the person, not find the solution.
Right.
About finding solutions. It's about fighting the people that bring the difference, something that is different to anybody for that matter. If it does not agree with me, then I'm going to fight the individual personally. I'm going to tear down the individual personally. And so there's not many, legitimate conversations that are being held because and this is part of it. Part of it that is passion, right? Part of that is passion. The passion of Christ. They named it the passion of Christ because the way that he went about his lifestyle was so passionate and so engaging that there was nobody that could tell him different, right? And so I think that was extremely important that, for me, for, my Savior to be able to stand like that. It gave me the mindset that I have to also be able to stand for that. My dad would always say this. He would say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And so like we're living in that type of society. You named it a shift, or you alluded to the shift. And whether it's this side or that side, and I don't know, there's many sides. Like how many sides are there to a box? How many sides to a box? And when you start to think about that, you start to realize, man, there's a lot more sides than, what I had originally thought about. And being able to see that, figuratively, contextually, being able to understand that at the highest level is to say, I don't understand it. I don't understand it because no matter which way I'm looking at that box, the maximum amount of sides that I'm able to truly see is probably 3. That's it. See 3 sides.
How many can you focus on?
And what is focus at that point in time, But I agree with you because focus is really on a point, and it's not even on a complete side, right? And the larger the box, the more difficult it is to focus on whatever it is, and it's just like, with that thought process, it's like my vantage point obscures my ability to see someone else's vantage point.
Amen. I'm glad you said that, because that's it. The superpower is going to be empathy. A lot of individuals, these individuals, and we're, I wouldn't say we're targeting an individual. I think a lot of individuals are being triggered by, they've so closely aligned to something that they're being triggered by when someone speaks about it. So if I speak about a certain issue, I'm just speaking about it. But that person who aligns and feels like this thing, they're labeled by this issue, they seem to get hurt by it. I was having a conversation yesterday with the person that I just, I admire. I think is an awesome, and I think most people, but this person is definitely an awesome human being. And I said something and I realized this person got triggered. Now, this is the person who a person would consider to be highly logical, highly organized, clarified, but they were triggered by it. And here I'm just speaking. I'm speaking. Maybe I disagree with a point, but I'm just speaking. But they're triggered by it. I noticed that when this person was triggered, and I said, okay, well, now it's time to get back and get curious, because at this point, there's a reason why this person is triggered, and I don't know this person's experiences. I don't know this person's examples that they have for this their entire life. So the only thing I can do at this point is to be curious as to why this is what I'm saying that's triggering this person. This is happening on just a large scale for most people. And part of it also is that part that I'm triggering feels as if it's not being acknowledged. So there's a hurt there. There's something there that's being triggered by this person that's not being acknowledged. So now, to be empathetic and more, not even more so empathetic than just be compassionate, is now, for me anyways, is going to be to sit back. Now I get to ask questions to acknowledge this part that's being triggered. And at the worst that is going to happen, and from my standpoint, is that maybe this person might not get it, but I'm going to receive more information on it in this communication. One of the things that we can do to acknowledge this thing is something that you do very, very well, brother, in communication, is just to listen. Is to ask questions and then to listen. I want to, and here's a great phrase a lot of we all can use. You know what? I never seen it that way. And allow that person to expand on it. I'm not saying that you agree with it, but we could say to let this person expound is, hey, I never saw it that way. And then don't say anything. I'm gonna give Chris the credit for this because he gave me that phrase. And then listen to what this person is saying. And the thing is that I'm not better than anybody, because there's times when I don't feel acknowledged. I probably can communicate that I don't feel acknowledged differently than other people, or have the capability of even communicating, because a lot of people can't communicate. They don't feel acknowledged. A lot of people just start to lash out. That's a lot of what's happening in today's society. People are lashing out because part of it is that they're lashing out because they don't feel acknowledged. If you can take that gem in itself, it changes the game for you. This is on any level, definitely in sales. I'm going through something with an attorney right now, and I'm just paying attention. I'm like, this attorney is not acknowledging what I'm saying. They're attempting to put words in my mouth. They're attempting to guide me in a certain direction, which is not, it's not terrible to guide someone, but it's terrible to guide someone without fully understanding where this person is coming from. When we start talking about these different communities, when we start talking about these different labels that people are addressing to themselves, I don't care what it is. You could say LGBTQ, you can say Democrat, you can say Republican, you can say you're in the, liberal, whatever these names is that you decide that a person, black, white, African American, Jamaican, Caribbean, whatever label it is that you're attributing to yourself, if I can get a clear understanding of why it is that you label yourself that way, single parents, single mothers, why are you labeling yourself that way? Is because you have a certain thinking about what essentially what maybe it's empowering you in your mind, but it puts you in a certain mindset. So if I'm attempting to have this communication, or even allow you to understand where I'm coming from, so perhaps we both, maybe I have more information and I can guide you, but even if I have more information, it doesn't matter because you don't feel acknowledged. So you will completely shut down regardless of, if I tell you to go around the corner, you're broke, there's $2 million around the corner, you're not going to listen to me because you don't feel like I understand where you're coming from. And here's the kicker. Maybe I don't. Maybe I really don't know where you're coming from. I have an assumption or a theory, but until I acknowledge, what's the saying? People don't care what you have to say until you show that you care. We got to, within this, what I would call identity crisis of people who are, I think, everyone has positive intent that wants to find their way out, mostly on the most, the easiest way possible, with the least amount of pain and damage inflicted. I think, because everyone is either avoiding pain or attempting to seek pleasure. But mostly we make decisions because we want to avoid pain overall. Like we want to avoid the pain. We have to see exactly where these people are coming from based on where they're at. We got to meet them where they're at. We got to meet them on the level. Go ahead, brother. My rant.
I think that's that. Yeah, we're on the same page. Like I said, what my dad would teach me is he would say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I had a little bit of this conversation last night too with my pastor, and we were just talking about it. And I found this. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it, but I found that, in some ways, shapes and forms, it may just all just boil down to weakness. Just weakness. We as people in Western society, and you mentioned it, you said people are looking for the easiest route. You want to become, you want to open up your own business, and there is a business in helping people opening businesses, and most of those businesses are still failing, even when they have the help of opening up a business from somebody who has done it. And it's just like, there's a business in helping people to get through relationships, save marriages. And a lot of people are still suffering, or I'm not going to say suffering, but going through divorces because it's not working out. I would suppose there's a lot of these different things. And the bottom line is that, people are just not giving their all into what they decide they wanted to do. I was talking to a buddy of mine this morning, and he said, well, I want to make a change. I'm going to go this route, but I'm still going to be doing such and such with you. So I was like, hey man, listen, do your thing. Like I'm not telling you to not do this with me, but I'm just saying you need to go do your thing, because the bottom line, what I've learned is that if you don't put the work in, you're not going to get anything out of it anyway. You have to go all in. And I love the Eastern culture movies about samurais, and kung fu masters. I love those. Still to this day, I still love it. I love those for, ever since I used to listen to Wu-Tang as a little jitterbox, sitting out of the boombox, You know, I've loved that. You know, 36 chambers. You know, I had to figure out what's the 36 chambers. You know, old dirty bastard. Well, who is this? You know, I had to watch that movie. I had to see the Shaolin monk. I had to see the 36 chambers. I had to see the 5 venoms, the 5 deadly venoms, and the 5 deadly venoms return. I had to see the old dirty bastard, see what that man looked like. You know, and I wanted to understand it. And then I understood something about it. This is what I understood from then all the way up to The Last Samurai. You know, I'm even looking at a show called Heroes now. You know, you can see that. And it's always the same storyline. Besides some of the other beauties that I love inside of the culture and the way that they format the style of role play and the storyline is this. The people in this culture cultivate one thing all their life. That's it. It was best depicted in The Last Samurai. I felt like that was a really good opportunity to see like this culture. And every single day, those that planted rice, the reason why their rice was so perfect is because they started as a little child and they grew into it and they never wavered. So I mean, so their crop share is going to be the high percentage yield. They're not going to get a low percentage yield because by the time they were of age, they had already done it for 16 years. They started at the age of 2, the age of 3. By the time they became 18, 19, 20, they had 17 years of planting and growing. They knew the seasons. Their education was far beyond any person who was trying to pick it up at the age of 27 and trying to learn it all over. You can't get by them because by the age of 20, they had 17 years. By the age of 27, they had 24 years. You know, they had so much time. And I mean, when you look at it, when you look at it over here, how much time we put into a career, you know, we're all in schooling, but in this calligraphy, if they were going to the way with the sword, you know, or if you're going to be some type of a blacksmith, a leather worker, whatever it was, you started that journey and see. So if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And these things were given, they were passed down. It was like parents would pass this stuff down. You know, you had to make a drastic move to leave whatever your heritage was. Yeah, you know, you had to, if you were a cook and 17 years, you had the best noodles and you decided you wanted to be a warrior, you had to make a drastic movement. You had to go out and find the person that knew it the best. Then you had to study them. You had to follow them. You had to do every single thing that they said, no matter what it was. You had to fully trust it. And Western culture, we don't do none of that type of stuff. You can be whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. And there's just so many people out there doing whatever they want all at one time, and they're not good at anything. And so now you look at the labels, and you find that, you know, well, I can be whatever I want. So I'm going to identify as a dog. Well, you don't even know how a dog is. You're not even going to go out there and figure out what does a dog do? How does a dog sniff another dog's butt? Where's your studies? You know, it's like, I'm just going to go have surgery and have whiskers put into my face and look like a cat. Now I'm a cat. You know, it's like, okay, so now we're taking this whole identity thing to this next level. There is absolutely no research. There's not, where's your full commitment? Go get the fur, put on your back. Get the tail put in there. I don't know. I'm not saying go do this. I'm saying that people are not fully committed. It's sensationalized. I'm going to be this until I realize this was a dumb move. And I'm going to fight for it, though. I'll fight you tooth and nail for my right to be a dog. I identify as a dog. That means I can bark. Well, who's going to talk with you? Does the dog understand what your bark sounds like? The dog don't even know what you're talking about when you bark. So now you got all these people going through this identity crisis, and they're not even talking the same language. They ain't even got the same language. You know, I believe that I should be, a female. I believe that I should be a dog. Well, I believe I should be both. Well, I don't believe you're right. Well, I believe we should be all of them at one time. It's just, that's where we are, in a nation of confused individuals. And it's because we have learned that it's okay just to take the easiest pathway that satisfies us for today, and to live into that until the day comes where it no longer satisfies us. And then we can just switch back and forth as often as we choose. I think that that's a very dangerous place that we're in. And this is a part of what happens when people gain freedoms, with no direction.
With no direction. Of course, the brother, this is what I hear, what I heard rather, is because I heard a lot of extremes, and I want to bring this to because not to speak to just the 2% of the population, although they specifically can get a lot out of that as well, hopefully, if they choose to listen. Of course, I'm curious to understand. I think a lot of it is symptoms of the issue, and so the issue essentially started from just too many freedoms and not enough guidance, not enough listening. But for the person who's just attempting to figure out what's going on and why is this thing not working out for me, whatever it is, it points to that. You have all these options and you think that you can do all of them, and to be a master at whatever it is you're doing, you gotta pick one. Specifically for real estate, what I noticed, and I heard this a while back, was I remember going to a meeting and people were standing up and talking about what they were and where they served. And I heard someone said that they served as a real estate agent. They served anywhere from Miami to Orlando. And I sat back listening, like, how can you serve anywhere from Miami? Because you don't have a company or brokers or agents. It was you're serving the between Miami and Orlando. That's a huge span of land. Just Palm Beach Gardens itself is enough. I just did some numbers on Palm Beach Gardens just in townhomes. Over the last 100 weeks was over $180 million worth of sales. Now, if you do the math and say that you're getting 3% or 2.5% to 3% of those sales, figure out what that part of it is, or really 6%. But let's say 2.5% to 3% of it, and figure out what that is. That's enough to feed a lot of people. So it goes to saying that just because you can doesn't mean that you should. In fact, to your point, brother, if you can master something, this is why Katt Williams is going to go down as one of the greatest, is because he mastered his craft. It's evidence. Now it's effortlessly at this point.
Right.
He goes and you attempt to wonder how he did this to another comedian. I remember he got on a comedian and they started going back and forth on each other, and he just dismantled this comedian to where all the comedians, and he did it, and he made it look so effortlessly, and he was caught off guard with it. It was this one instance. Then the brother breaks down. If you all go back and watch the interview, forget the salaciousness of it, the entertainment side of it, that gets the numbers up. This brother says, I go out and I tell for 15 minutes. This is how he judges comedians. We both do the same number set, time on the set, and then we count the laughs. This brother is counting the laughs he gets within 15 to 30 minutes. And he's counting the laughs that you get between 15 to 30 minutes. How many people are actually going down and breaking down the art form to that? The brother says he does 100 city tours. He's done 1,900 city tours. For each city he goes to the popular spots so that the first 15 minutes of his set is about that city. Because what that allows his audience to do is to understand how he relates to them. And so he's going to bring up these spots in the city. So they say, you know what? This brother been around me. This brother been on 100 cities. And so he said, not only does he do it for that reason, but he goes to these different places within these cities and learns the first 15 minutes. So now he understands in his mind people. And he broke it down even further, saying that I don't care if you're black, white, or you're in Ireland, or you're here. There's 6 types of people. That's how he's broken his craft down into. I'm coming across 6 kinds of people. And so when I know this and I recognize this within the crowd, this is how I'm going to deliver my performance. That's it makes a person who's not a comedian, who sees it up there, who said before, I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna do it. We had this conversation last week, I believe. I'm gonna do this thing. But then when you get to the nitty-gritty, like, can I really do this thing? Right. Because if there's a person out there who has that amount of commitment to something, a commitment to his craft, his business, it's hard. And everyone's out here just kind of doing whatever they feel they're gonna do. Today, I'm a musician. Tomorrow, I can sing a little bit, so I'm gonna sing. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna be I decided I want to be a public speaker. You know what I mean? Like I want to be. What? So now we don't know and you just have all these things. You could break it down within your industry. Just because you can do something within your industry doesn't mean you should. Because now you got to deal with a whole different demographic. You got to deal with a whole different crowd. You're not noticing the little intricacies of the people and the person and the business, and you're just talking on a general level. People who specialize in things will always make more than people who generalize in things, who just couldn't get it down to what it was, who they serve, what they serve, and what makes them serve it. And at the end of the day, who I'm passionate about serving. What puts the gas in this engine for me to continue going?
I love it.
Yeah, brother. It's an interesting thing. I think we kind of got. Talking about, yeah. We're kind of.
I love it. That was good, man. I'm gas in the engine. You know what? And so that I feel like now that's that full circle to your original question. Which side? And for me, it's like, okay, so it's either the side where I'm referring to what I'm putting into something, or the side of where what am I putting into myself? Those are the true sides right there.
Right.
What am I putting into myself? What is my belief system in myself? Who am I? Who am I? And what does that mean to me? And who I am, how much does that mean to me? That I can walk in my own skin. I can be me. But first I need to know who am I? Because how can I walk in my own skin? I don't even know who I am. I'm still questioning myself. And like you said, not to speak to the 2%, but I just mean this in everything. Going back to the idea of the samurai, or let's talk about Katt Williams. Who am I? I'm a comedian. I am the comedian. I am, if I'm Katt Williams, I am the comedian. I'm going down in history. I think that what's his name? Basketball player, Stephen Curry. Just got an award. He's going into some type of historical basketball player. Who am I? I'm Stephen Curry. What do I do? Man, I rain threes. You ain't never seen a three like my three. Well, what are you talking about? I can hit a three from anywhere. Even where you're standing right now. But I'm in a stadium. That's all right. I practice there. And it's just like mastery. And then it's like, what do I do is on the other side. That's the other side. Because if we single out everything and we just shadow everybody else out, if we take a picture of the entire world and we just shade everybody out except for ourselves, it really doesn't matter who's around us. When we know who we are, we can color in the people. They're going to come looking for us. So the next thing is just, what do I do? What do I stand for? Because who I am makes a difference in what I do. Because it doesn't really matter. I can be a comedian. I can be a three-point shooter, NBA star. I can be a samurai. I can do all of them. But if I just do one of them and I master that one, I define who I am because of the level of mastery.
Listen, new year, new me. It sounds good. Yeah. But you got to answer the questions. If it's a new year and it's a new me, answer these questions. Who am I? What am I going to master? What I do. What is it that I do? And what is it that I stand for? You going into this new year, we here already. So thank God, and we grateful for that. My saying, another day, another way. Thank God and grateful for that. I would advise you all to go back and watch our last New Year, day after New Year's episode and come back and watch it now and see the growth and the connection just based on this. And a lot of these questions, I would dare to say, were answered for both of us last year fully in how we are. I think we're continuously growing and expanding these things, but these questions beg to you got to answer these questions. Who am I? What am I going to master? What is it that I do? What do I stand for? So now the normal doesn't matter. The new normal, these new normals that we have, it doesn't matter because I know who I am.
I know who I am.
Guys, I think that's the mic drop. The brother gave you the brother gave you the information. The brother gave you the questions. The title is what it was. And it's been broken down. Man, awesome, brother. Awesome show. Definitely got a lot out of it, man. I appreciate it each and every time we come together and shoot these episodes. Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, man. I love it too, man. I'm glad that you emphasize those last few things, man. I'm going to take those notes down and put it up on my wall or something like that. Because that right there, I need to keep that one. Man, who am I? Who am I? What am I going to master? Where do I stand? And what am I going to do? Man.
Guys, we appreciate you all for checking. Yeah, we appreciate you all. Did that give you a little energy? Come on, when you hear it out loud. Hey, we appreciate you all. You all check back in. This is the community beacon we appreciate you all. Make this year your best year. And that's that. Peace, everyone.